From the headquarters of Teleso English in Quito, Ecuador, this is From the South. I am Kijan Haynes. A journalist was gunned down in Mexico on Friday night in the municipality of Felipe Carrillo Puerto in Quintana Roo. According to a police report, a man entered a bar and shot Jose Guadalupe Chan 3 times. Chan is the 7th journalist to be murdered in Mexico this year. In the 6-year term of President Enrique Peña Nieto, more than 40 members of the press have died violently. Meanwhile, indigenous communities blocked roads to prevent the establishment of polling stations ahead of this Sunday's elections. They say the system has failed them. Residents have destroyed campaign signs and set up blockades to prevent the government from delivering ballots. Indigenous leaders in at least 6 towns and small cities in those states are also pledging to block balloting on Sunday. Electoral authorities may set up polling stations outside of those protesting towns instead.
We want the National Electoral Institute to abstain from putting polling stations here, because we have the right. It's the same right that politicians have to demand a municipal president, and it's the same right we, the people, have.
If the assembly of a community has decided not to install polling stations, then we must respect it, because assemblies are the maximum authority in our community in order to be able to take action.
And with 133 politicians murdered ahead of the Mexico elections, voters appear to be wary ahead of the polls, but that does not mean that they're not going out to vote. On the streets of Mexico, people say they're aware of the violence, but they'll still go out and cast their ballots. It's by far the most violent election on record in Mexico.
Many won't go out and vote out of fear. As things are, you can't go out. If you're afraid of going out to earn a dime, well, during elections, there's more fear.
It's exactly because of the rumors circulating that you get afraid and you don't go out to vote.
Pablo Perez has more from Mexico.
We have a generalized violence environment, and also the National Election Institute said that this is not going to affect the elections in any way. Several advisors, several analysts say that this is not so, because violence has seeped all over the election process in most of the 32 states, and they are fearing that some people is not going to vote because of fear. There has been also the threats in Guerrero from organized crime groups against people trying to meddle with elections, and also people is worried that the very slow counting process, because that the Electoral Institute has announced they're going to take us a safe route to have better results, is going to give the parties, particularly the official party, the Revolutionary Institutional Party, time to meddle with the results. So there are a lot of fraud allegations, and there are a lot of fear about violent events during the vote casting tomorrow, and we're going to be reporting all over the day and during the counting process.
Now we're staying in Mexico on this electoral process. It's less than 24 hours before Electoral Day, and distrust is growing in the institutions responsible for organizing and supervising the elections. And while political violence is going up. We have more in this next report.
Mexicans of age are preparing to participate in one of the largest elections that's ever been organized. 3,406 federal public positions are up for grabs, and all eyes are on the election process.
I have zero trust in this electoral process because everything that they say, and they say so much, is never actually followed through on.
Because of the actions of the political parties with some old behaviors such as vote buying, that is difficult to detect. That is a risk that I see.
Que es un poco, creo, difícil de detectar.
One, as citizen, goes to vote, but unfortunately, The authorities have made it so that people don't trust them.
Tan confiada en las autoridades electorales.
On social media, theories circulate that the voting pencils provided by the National Institute of Elections may be an avenue for fraud. That suspicion of fraud is always looming. The political parties have registered 2.6 million representatives to monitor the votes.
The institutions of Mexico have been taken over by a neoliberal faction that has a mission that has nothing to do with the welfare of citizens and has made these institutions theirs and has oriented them not to serve democracy, but that neoliberal mission.
In the midst of campaign silence, a video was shared of Ricardo Anaya, conservative candidate, in discussions with his partners in the National Action Party. The video was distributed by the team of the government party's candidate, the Institutional Revolutionary. Meanwhile, the electoral authorities declared they're ready for Sunday and called the candidates to respect the official results.
I also call on the political parties and the candidates to rise to the history challenge that these elections bring, who today are registered as candidates and are seeking to hold a public office, which is a public responsibility to the citizens.
Despite measures that have been taken by the Electoral Institute and the candidates to try to guarantee peace and security for the elections, the murders of people involved in the process is continuing.
Eduardo Martínez, Telesur, Ciudad de México.
Let's take a break. We have more in Mexico and World Cup highlights after the break.
No? I cannot put this into words. All right, you're excited
medical conditions like autism. That is stooped so low on the part of the Republicans as well.
When someone looks at me, the bias would be to not take me seriously until I open my mouth.
Welcome back to Megastars of the World Cup going home on the same day. For more on that, Jose Daniel Lopez has more from the World Cup.
Thank you, Kijan, and welcome to our Telesur Russia 2018 special World Cup coverage. I'm Jose Daniel Lopez, and here are today's headlines. We start with the results from today's matches. Argentina lost against France 4-3 in the city of Kazan. Mbappé, and Antoine Griezmann and Pavard scored for France. Ángel Di María, Gabriel Mercado, and Kun Agüero scored for Argentina. With this victory, France moves on to the quarterfinals, while Argentina and Lionel Messi are eliminated from the tournament. After the game, Argentine fans lamented their team's elimination.
When you are winning 2-1, you can't let them rob you of 3 goals. I'm most annoyed. Because of that, something isn't right when you are winning 2-1 and then you condense 3 goals.
I think this process of players has already fulfilled its cycle. There is a renewal of 10 more and Messi, who has to continue. He has to get to the World Cup. It is fundamental. I love him. He's my football idol.
Over 300 workers were dismissed earlier this week from the Argentine state news agency Telam, gathered together to watch Argentina's World Cup game. They hold a peaceful protest in front of Telam's headquarters to demand their jobs back. The government of Mauricio Macri recently signed a new loan deal with the IMF, which imposes harsh economic measures. Uruguay qualified for the quarterfinals, eliminating Cristiano Ronaldo and Portugal 2-1 in the city of Sochi. Paris Saint-Germain striker Edinson Cavani scored a header in the first half. Portuguese defender Pepe scored a goal in the beginning of the second half to tie the game, but Edinson Cavani scored again to seal the victory for Uruguay. After the match, Uruguayan fans in Montevideo celebrated the team's qualification. Football not only crosses borders, but it pushes people beyond their limits as well. A group of young Mexicans show their love for the sport in spite of their disabilities.
Abel loves to show off his football skills. He dominates the ball with his only leg and canes. He earns some pesos every time the traffic stops. But his true passion is on the field, where he trains with his team. He discovered amputee football while waiting for his prosthetic leg to be manufactured. He says that practicing this sport has changed his life.
It has changed everything for me. I am more entrusted, so to speak, to carry a normal life.
To play on this team, you had to have lost a leg. Jose says that positive energy he gets on the field is what encourages him to improve both on the pitch and on the street.
We try to work hard. We add laughter and attitude, and therefore this also inspires people and motivates us.
Jonathan says that after the accident that took his leg, he suffered from a long depression. To go back to his childhood passion has been a great effort that was rewarded with his first goal in a game against another amputee team.
It feels great to touch the ball, to hit it and score a goal and shoot more than anything else.
Pumas Retro is one of the 13 teams that are in the Mexican Amputee Soccer League in different states of the Republic. Their players dream of taking part in their own World Cup this October in Mexico.
FIFA's referee committee said that the video assistant referees, VAR, have so far contributed to a scandal-free World Cup. The referee committee said that the VAR helped achieve an accuracy rate of 99% for decisions in the group stage. However, opinions among fans are divided, with many questioning the balance between the use of technology and the spectacle of football.
With VAR, I don't think it should be in the game because it ruins the spectacle of the sport. I think when you think of football, you think of these big moments like the hand of God. Imagine if VAR killed that moment. It's a good talking point. It adds to the spectacle of football, adds to the drama, adds to the magic of football and what it is. So these are the moments that make football.
VAR doesn't mean perfection. There could still be some wrong interpretation or even mistake. So it's not the perfection that can be reached by having implemented the VAR. But As you can see, 99.3% is something that is very, very close to perfection.
Children from poor communities around the world gathered in Moscow's Red Square to play a football match. The FIFA Foundation Festival invited 300 children from 36 countries, represented by 51 charities, dealing with a range of causes from helping disabled persons to improving education and battling racism.
Because football always makes us happy. When I am at home sitting lonely, we don't have fun. But when we are in the pitch playing, laugh, everyone is happy.
Well, for the kids, it's definitely a fantastic opportunity. They have been chosen as to be representatives of their organizations, not because of their football qualities, but because of their leadership potential. They are young people who are committed to solving issues in their communities. They are people who have a potential to become leaders and help drive change, positive social change in their communities.
Tomorrow, the round of 16 continues. Diego Costa in Spain will play against the host country, Russia, in Moscow. And Croatia will try to qualify to the next round, facing Denmark. And that's all for today's Telesur Russia 2018 headlines. Don't miss our exclusive show, De la Mano del 10, the World Cup according to Maradona, only on Telesur English. I'm Jose Daniel Lopez. Back to you, Kitchen.
Thanks a lot. Let's do some more news around the region. Bolivia's President Evo Morales met with Pope Francis on Saturday in the Vatican. During the meeting, it's the sixth between the president and the Argentine-born Pope, they discussed bilateral relations and the regional situation. According to the Vatican, the Pope highlighted the duty Morales had to work for solidarity and build justice. Morales traveled to the Vatican for Thursday's consecration of Latin America's first indigenous cardinal, and he also expressed his excitement on Twitter. He said, emotional consecration of Brother Turbino Ticona, Cardinal in Bolivia, a historical and unprecedented act, not only for the country, but in the region, but for all the world's indigenous movements. Now the church has a cardinal of the people. That's what Morales wrote on Twitter. Ticona is a priest of rural and mining town Coro Coro, west of La Paz. Before becoming a priest, he worked as a miner. And thousands of Nicaraguans marched in Managua on Saturday to remember those who died over the past 2 months. For protests erupted on April 18th against the now scrapped social security reforms, but have grown into demands for justice for those killed and the exit of Daniel Ortega and his wife, Vice President Rosario Murillo. And at least 6 people were shot and wounded Saturday in Managua. Paramedics were seen tending to the wounded. It was unclear exactly who opened fire on them as they approached the property belonging to the Cohen Corporation. And teachers in Peru are promising to step up their indefinite strike after the government refused to negotiate on their demands for more money for education. Our correspondent Jaime Herrera has more from Lima.
On Thursday, the teachers' union members from different regions met with their leaders and agreed to continue their indefinite strike, which they began 10 days ago. They say this is because the government has shown no sign it wants to negotiate a solution to their demands. For example, they want an increase in the budget for education, which is currently one of the lowest in Latin America. They say the government has simply rejected their demands and threatened them with sanctions, saying that it will sack those teachers who are on strike and replace them with substitute teachers, or dock their wages. The teachers say they will not back down, and they'll take such cases to the Constitutional Court to defend their right to freedom of expression and their right to organize and to strike. They also say that from Monday, more schools in the Andean and Amazon regions will join the strike, and they will send delegations to Lima to take part in demonstrations and put more pressure on the government.
Sus salarios. A pesar de ello, ellos manifiestan que no se amilanan y que van a llevar estos casos al Tribunal Constitucional.
Thanks a lot, Jaime Herrera there in Lima. So in Barbados, the International Air Transportation Association has written to the Mia Mottley administration requesting that it roll back taxes imposed on the travel and tourism industry. They say they look forward to meeting with Prime Minister Mottley to point out the dangers associated with the increased fees and charges. Tickets purchased for travel from October 1st will be subject to a $70 U.S. airline travel and tourism development fee. For regional trips and destinations, a $35 U.S. fee will be implemented.
So it is demonstrated and validated that reducing taxes will generate a higher long-term economic benefit than increasing taxes and quickly generating some revenues. We need to ask the question, when was the last time we saw new flights from Europe or other parts of the regions into the Caribbean by new entrants into the market?
Let's take another short break now after this look at what our multimedia colleagues are reporting.
México ha expresado su más enérgica condena a cualquier trato cruel e inhumano hacia cualquier migrante, en especial hacia aquellos más vulnerables.
Decidido y presupuestar.
Welcome back. Thousands are marching in the United States against President Trump's zero-tolerance stance on illegal immigration. On the doorsteps of the White House, protesters chanted "shame, shame," and demanded that the detained children be reunited with their parents. In May, the Trump administration began prosecuting all adults who crossed the border without authorization. More than 2,000 children who arrived illegally in the United States with adult relatives were separated from them and placed in detention facilities or with foster families around the United States.
We are violating refugees and immigrants' human rights every single day by denying them the right to seek asylum, criminalizing them, and putting them in cages. And the only thing that has moved the Trump administration, who from day one has embraced racist, anti-immigrant propaganda and spreads it through all his cabinet, the only thing that has made him even start thinking about changing his position is what you see here, is public pressure and it's outside pressure. So we will march. We will go against the Department of Justice.
This is just one policy. There's a whole range of policies that need to be changed, but today we're talking about jailing children, and that needs to change. So that's what we're hoping, to get as many people as possible to understand that this is unacceptable.
And tens of thousands of people have marched through London to mark the National Health Service's 70th anniversary and to demand an end to government cuts and further privatization of the health service. They stopped outside Downing Street to demand Theresa May's resignation. Opposition leader Jeremy Corbyn addressed the crowd, demanding an end to privatization, the closure of the internal market for staff to no longer be subcontracted to private companies, and for social care to be properly funded.
A massive thank you to all those who over all those years have worked so hard in our National Health Service to keep us all safe from whatever part of this world or this country they've come from. They've made the effort, and thank you especially to the Windrush Federation for their work as well. But do we have the absolute determination that we will go to the end of the earth and beyond to defend our National Health Service?
And that brings us to the end of this news brief. These and many other stories, find them on our website, telesurtv.net/English. And join us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for Telesur English. I'm Keishan Haynes. Thank you for watching.
Mexican citizens are called to participate this 1st of July on the federal elections. Some 89 million citizens will vote in this democratic contest for more than 3,000 election posts, among them the presidents of the Republic. And Telesur